Hello, everybody. I want to say thank you to the Custora team to have us here, Lucky Brand. We are well represented with Tim Mack, and I hope everybody had a chance to meet Tim. And I'm Carlos Alberini. I'm the CEO of the company, and we bought the company with Leonard Green back in 2014, at the beginning of 14. And as you know, the brand is a very traditional brand, has been in business for 28 years, so we felt that we needed to do a lot of things to really change the game for the company and for the brand, for our profitability. But before I get there, so I'm going to spend quite a bit of time talking about our experience, and we decided to call this the transition from traditional retailing into customer centricity, because we felt that it was very appropriate. We have been going through a lot of change internally. And, but as we were preparing for this, I got probably the most difficult question to answer. And the question was, we need to know what are your fun facts. Fun facts. I cannot even tell a joke. You want me to? I don't have any fun facts. So, but I had to think, and I thought, something that is very real, I don't know if it is fun, but it's very real, is that I'm probably the least likely guy to be here talking about a fashion retail brand. So I'm going to share with you a couple of things here. Okay. So I was born in Argentina, and I grew up in Argentina, and I studied economics and accounting. So I graduated as an accountant, and I joined Price Waterhouse at the time. I look like that. And that's my wife. I call her La Gorda. And La Gorda and I have been married for 35 years, but back then we were dating. And I was in Punta del Este, Uruguay, for that picture. And I was working for Price Waterhouse. And then we were dating, and they offered me a job. So I went to resign from Price Waterhouse. And the senior partner says, "No, why are you going to resign? How about if we send you to the US?" Like, that sounds cool. Yeah, sure, we'll go to the US. And so I came to the US, and nobody in the firm, I was in Price Waterhouse in Philadelphia. That was my first stop. And nobody in the firm, the partners, wanted to work with me. I mean, here is this guy, he can barely speak. And, we have to really, we have this big opportunity to work with so many other very competent Yale guys. I remember just, which school did you go to? And it's like, University of Buenos Aires. And it's like, do they have computers there? It just, so anyway, so this guy, in the firm, offered me to create this new practice that the firm didn't have about retail. I'm like, retail? All I have done was, just manufacturing, heavy industry, and retail. What is that? So that's how I started in retail. Imagine that. Then I left, and the rest is history. But now, this is what we look like, right? And we are grandparents. 2 weeks ago, we had our first grandchild. And yeah, thank you. And I know many of you are thinking, okay, that's his second wife. I know. But no, the problem was me. She didn't change, I did. But, so, and just to move on from my family, the biggest problem is my daughter. This is the grandson is my daughter's son, and guess what they named this kid? Yes, Levi. They named him Levi. I'm like, how can you do this to me? Anyways, all right. Well, so I'm going to spend some time. I spent many years at Guess, about 10 years at Guess, and there were wonderful years, and we did a lot with the company, international expansion, a lot of things. I think the business was very different back then. But you know, it was a great learning for me. And then I spent about 4 years with Restoration Hardware before coming to Lucky. And restoration was also an incredible experience. And I think that, you know, just we were kind of looking at customer data, but frankly, we had no idea of what we were doing, and we got very fortunate with some of the moves that we made, like, you know, closing stores and staying with, I'm talking about restoration, staying with bigger stores in any given market. We stopped doing monthly catalogs, you know, so we had a lot of great successes. So a lot of those things I think we used here at Lucky, but many others I think have been more the result of incredible partnerships that we developed. One of them is right here with Custora. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, but you know, just we have been running the company now for almost 5 years, and we like to think about years in the way what is the big priority or the great focus that we put into each of those years. So in 14, we wanted to learn a lot about the business, the real estate, the products that did well, the customer, our people, and so forth. And then we use all those learnings. We develop a strategy. In 2015, we wanted to really validate that strategy. We did some tests, and some things worked, some others didn't. But then we corrected, and in 2016, because the company was a division of a bigger company, we had to create our own infrastructure, which was very painful, and we had to define number of months to be able to do that, which we completed in 15, but then in 16 we had to go back and fix a lot of operational issues that we saw. Then 2017 was a year where, you know, things were changing dramatically in the business, not just for us, but for everybody, as you know. So we had to really go back and say, well, was that strategy the right one, considering everything that had changed, especially with the customer? And we made some changes that we call more about brand transformation. And this year, we felt that we had to continue to work on that model. So I'm going to share a lot of what we are doing now. The business is the traditional retail wholesale model. We do about $620 million. We have distribution at wholesale, so we sell to department stores like Macy's or Nordstrom, specialty stores. We also have 160 full-price stores. We have 90 outlet stores. We have an e-commerce business that, if you take the relative dollars, represents about 30% in penetration to the direct-to-consumer business. And we have a licensing business that is pure cash flow and is very attractive, not only because of the financial results, but also because of the opportunity that it gives us to be much more to the customers in terms of offering. I don't know what's going on here. Okay. So the way we approach the brand transformation is pretty simple. We start with the customer findings. We did a lot of research. Tim led that project back then. Then we used those learnings to evolve the product and thinking about what can we do better, more of. We also looked at the store experience because we felt that we needed to really transform that. We looked at marketing, how are we going to tell the story, and we are still working on that. And last but not least, you know, just challenging ourselves in terms of what our omni-channel experience was going to look like. So one of the big things that we learned back then, customer research, was, you know, we asked a question, simple question. When you buy Lucky Brand product, when do you wear it? And the answer was, well, most of the time, weekends, like 85% or so, both men and women. And they said, well, how about going out? Not so much. How about going to work? Even less. But then we asked a second question. Well, if we had products for those occasions that we mentioned, how much of Lucky Brand product would you buy? And the answer to the weekends was about the same, meaning, okay, even if you make more product for weekends, I'm buying as much as I will buy from you. But then with respect to going out and going to work, the numbers went up significantly. So we said, aha, if we have this opportunity, we already know who those customers are. They have already voted for the brand because they are buying product from us. So how about if we make more product for those occasions? So that was basically the biggest premise that we had as part of our strategy, and we thought it was a great one because we had learned that our customer was very affluent, super affluent. Our customer participated in those occasions. They were highly employed, so they were going to work. They had very active lifestyles too, so they definitely were going out. I mean, who doesn't? So we thought, okay, this is a big opportunity. So we went after that, and this is basically how we built that product strategy. You know, at the center, if you picture, that was the core business that we inherited, basically. And then we said, okay, we're going to create, you know, more product for other wearing occasions, and we are going to have more breadth and depth because we felt that they were kind of like with a product assortment, they were just tiptoeing into different categories. So if we were going to offer dresses, maybe we had 4 dresses. We don't have a killer assortment. So then if you woke up in the morning and you think about having a dress, you would never think about Lucky Brand. It would be more like a coincidence that you will be in the store and you will buy that dress. But we wanted to become much more dominant like we are with denim. Also, we thought about new categories. And here is where the licensing world became very relevant. And then, you know, we also felt that we were too specific. So then, you know, if you took 10 women and you look at our assortments, maybe 2 of them liked what we had. What we wanted was to have exactly the opposite. We wanted 8 of the 10 to like what we had. For that, we needed to develop products that were much more versatile. So when you think about how we went about doing this, we said, okay, many of these things we have capabilities internally. So we know how to do denim. We know how to do some pieces of fashion. We have some accessories capabilities. We were doing fine jewelry in-house. But then we said, what do we do with the other categories? And we started looking for partners. And we created all these licensing partners. All those circles around the big circle represent the licensees that we currently have for the different product categories. And we are very proud of this chart because, again, not only has significant financial impacts, but the fact that we can put in front of the customer all those different product categories, including home. We just launched home with Macy's as our licensee about a year and change ago with bedding. And then this past April, we launched tabletop with them, very successful. We just launched watches, and we are using, you know, different partners that have capabilities in those products specifically to be able to launch those. So on one hand, you know, you look at that chart, and you know, it may look good for a boardroom, but you know, in order to really give more tangible direction and vision to our design team, we said, okay, we will kind of paint the picture of what this assortment would look like for the different occasions. So we created this deck, our head of creative did, and you know, we imagined this family, you know, which would be that core customer. You know, it's a family of 4, they have 2 kids, they live in that home, okay? And then we put them into different occasions, and what would they wear if they were wearing Lucky Brand? So basically, this has become kind of like the Bible for the design team and the merchants to really build our assortment. So basically, you can see this is date night. This is what they would wear if they were in a special event and they were wearing Lucky Brand product, a weekend getaway, you know, a family with friends and so forth, and you know, even resort. So this opened our view to what this whole assortment could look like, including home. You know, leather has always been a very big material for us and so forth. So, so then we had to work on the store experience, which was also part of this. And we created a new store. It's this is in the Point in Manhattan Beach. I think you guys were there. Yes, better be there. Yeah, yeah. So it's a much bigger store. You know, one of the issues that we had was that the company had grown with a much smaller assortment. Therefore, the need for space was significantly smaller. So the typical average store is about 2,400 square feet, not too big, but enough at the time that we just had denim and graphic tees. Now that we have a full assortment, it's much more difficult to represent the brand appropriately. So we felt that much bigger space was the way to go. So we created this. We also looked at all the different elements of design, and we tried to celebrate the DNA of the brand. So we did some things like just use a lot of leather. We also created more like a journey inside the store. So you walk in and you have to go from room to room in order to discover the whole thing. And we saw that the customer was spending a lot more time in the store just participating in that experience. And you can see here, moto was one of the pillars of the brand. So we created this art installation. This is a motorcycle, and all the pieces are hanging from the ceiling. And it's kind of like a very cool place. We put a conveyor in the back with a lot of denim that turns around. We did a lot in terms of celebrating drinking. No, but that's a bar, and definitely what we see is that conversion rates elevate significantly when there is some drinking involved. So then we get to 2016, and now is the death of retail. Oh my God. Close all the stores, please. This is horrible. It's the worst business you could be in. All right, so yes, we saw 2017, record store closures. There's no mystery here. I think that in that list alone, there's more than 4,400 stores that closed. And then the US is over-malled and over-stored. Oh my God, look at these statistics. 23.5 square feet per person. That is crazy, right? Look at Germany. I mean, what is that, 2.4? I think it's just, okay. But it's like, this is not just about space, guys. The consumer here spends a lot of money. Look at those Christmas trees. It's a completely different thing. I grew up in Argentina, okay? If we got one present, that was like, woo. Now it's like, my wife is like, no, they need to be 30. Last year you bought 32 for each of them. It's like crazy how people spend money here. So that is the key. In reality, demand continues to grow. So I don't think that we are in this kind of like death of retail. I think it's a different kind of retail, but I think that demand is what counts here. So the key is, how do we participate in that new world and are successful? How do you do that? I think that is the key. You look at e-commerce. That was the other thing. Oh, e-commerce. Amazon. That's the only company that's going to exist here. Just a few years from now, forget it. Nobody else is going to be part of the market. But in reality, only 10% of total retail sales are happening online. Of course, significant, and that part is growing at a faster rate, but there's still 84.9% by 2022 that will be done in bricks and mortar. So let's not panic, right? Yeah. So somewhat coincidentally, I was invited to speak at one university, very well-known university, Wharton, and as I was waiting to go into my thing, somebody comes and says, okay, I want you to meet somebody. So this guy comes and is like, hi, I am Peter Fader. And Peter Fader had written that book, and it's like, I want to give you this. So, so I went into the class, and then on my way back in the plane, I just, read this book. And I'm like, oh my God, this is it. This is what we have to do. Customer centricity, seriously, I think that is such an incredible concept, and it's somewhat basic, but frankly, we were not doing anything like that. In fact, we had all these customers, and we didn't even know who they were. So we started thinking about, okay, what does this mean? How do we implement this? And I think that today, obviously after a year and a half of working on this, we have a completely different idea, but just what are the big differences, how to think about this, right? So, how do we, how do we think before, just in a product-centric world, and how do we think now? And really, I think that probably one of the biggest things is to start with the customer and understanding who they are and what do they do, what is their journey, and then how do we plug into that, as opposed to doing what we always did, which was, okay, let's make amazing product. That's all matters, and the landlords are going to take care of bringing the customer traffic into the stores, and our job is to really convert them, basically. And looking at the needs, of the customer instead of looking at what is the best product. I think that is making a big difference in the way we are approaching the business. And frankly, it's working. That's just an example of several things that some customers said. But it's all about what is the purpose of that particular product, and then how do we attend or how do we service those needs. And it's not a surprise, I don't think, that some of the big successes that we have had in the last 2 years have been all driven by but product innovation that really serves a different purpose in the lives of the customers. So this is something that we just introduced about maybe 6 months ago. It's called Cool Max, and this is for men. And I'm wearing a pair of this, and it's all stretch. And it doesn't look like it's stretch, but it's the most comfortable pair of jeans that I ever owned. And I think it serves a different need that in the past maybe the customer couldn't envision. We introduced a burnout T-shirt that has really moved the needle in our men's business too, and it's all about the different fabrications. Stretch, we all know, has impacted denim in a huge way. I think that the rest here in terms of metrics that really count, and just looking at what is that we are going to reward, whether it's customer-centric ideas or product-centric. And I think that all this is significant and very important to really implement a program like this effectively. Sorry. So this, in a graphic, this is what it means to us. Just looking at, putting the customer at the center. Obviously, we need to really feed a lot of this data. And the good thing is that there are several medium that are allowing us to really get a lot of this data. And then the ultimate purpose is to really personalize campaigns, cultivate brand loyalty, proactively engage the customers, and the ultimate goal is to increase upsell or cross-sell. So, okay, we get all this data, and what do we do with it, right? It's like, let's solve this problem by using the big data that none of us has the slightest idea of what to do with. And really, I think that is a joke that is somewhat painfully correct for many companies. I mean, the managing partner of Leonard Green told me one day, we have, a lot of our companies are very rich in data, but very poor in analysis. And I think that there's a lot of that happening. So I think, we in the business have to really understand how do we get the data that matters, and then what do we do with it. So, this is one way to look at it. Just first, just collecting all that data is not that simple. Then, just organizing that data at the center there in a way that could be actionable and can tell you what is important from everything that you collected. And then, what do we do with it? Now that we have the actions, how do we use that to impact the way we engage with the customer? So that's kind of like the problem to solve. So for us, CLV has been a major catalyst for all this change, and Custora is at the really beginning of that for us. This is what really threw us into this. And we continue to work with them to really enrich our program and our plan. And we couldn't be more happy with the results so far. So when we started this, we said, okay, we have all these stores, and we have people that are our ambassadors on the floor, that they are the ones dealing with the customers. We have about 2,300 people in the field. You know, those 160 stores, full-price stores, plus the 90 outlet stores. But these people were not collecting data. So we said, well, you know, you need to get this capture rates up. And at the time, we were not even measuring it well. You know, we didn't have reports. You know, going back to data or metrics that matter, we had not made that a priority. So we said, okay, we need you to start collecting data. Well, so we came back after we fixed the reporting. We were collecting about 14% capture here. 14%. So we said, what do you need? Well, the customers don't want to give us their data. We said, okay, can I have your email? No way, I'm not giving you my email. Just, no. So we came up with this kind of like fortuitously. We had started to do catalogs, you know, and we were doing maybe 10 catalogs a year or direct mail pieces. And in each of those catalogs, we were putting a coupon, you know, and we were using that code to be able to track the productivity of each of those pieces. So we came up with this very simple thing. We would tell our store people to offer the customer, said when the customer was ready to pay for that particular pair of jeans that they were buying, said, hey, do you have the coupon from the catalog? You know, I can give you, you know, that would be like whatever, 20% off discount on that particular purchase. I said, no, I didn't get your catalog. Oh, I'll tell you what, I'll give you the discount this time, give me your data, and then we will, you know, next time we'll make sure that you do get the catalog. So we took that 14% with that simple fact to 54%. We are running in the 50 to 60% depending. And this includes outlet stores, by the way, across the company. Just a simple change. And now we start getting more data. And look at what happened. This is, I think all these numbers are certified by the Custora team. So I know that model works well. So look at this. When we started this program, we had 1.9 million people on the database. About 18 months later, here we are. We have over 5 million as of today. Look at this, the expected revenue for the next year. I mean, we went from $55 million to, I think we are running at about 160 million this week. Okay, this is wonderful. Okay, so, no, but I think that, you know, just making that big change to really start collecting data. Now we can start going inside that and learning more about it, and that is how we are working with the Custora team to really get much more granular about what can we do with all this data and all this, the model, basically. We know that customers that shop online and in-store are much more valuable than the other ones, especially if they started with our website. And you can see the numbers there. We know that stores are driving customer acquisition much more than in the e-commerce. But when we look at the VIP customers, the e-commerce business delivers the most valuable customers for us. So, you know, just having this type of knowledge is very important. And we know that loyalty is very key. So we just we look at the results that these loyalty programs are producing for other companies, and you can see them on that chart. We believe that we needed to, or that we had a big opportunity in launching a loyalty program and a credit card program, and that just happened about 2 weeks ago. So this is some of the materials that we use. we also know that if we have emails, those customers are much more valuable than the ones that we don't have emails for. So, and we are using email in a very effective way to really drive sales. So we are very happy, and you can see some of the numbers here. You know, email sales that came from emails, you know, just were up almost 20% for us. We also know that direct mail, which at the beginning was just a tool to generate sales, now is moving customers from their desktop or mobile into the stores. So you can see the change there between the two time frames. We went from, you know, most of the sales that we could peg to that coupon that I was referring to. Before it used to happen all online, and now a lot more of those sales are happening in stores, which drives us to conclude that the program is being very effective to drive more customer traffic, which is the best thing, because we know that when the customer is in the stores, we have our people that can really upsell them, that can create a customer experience that is significantly more valuable and rich, and definitely create a bigger engagement with the company and the brand. This has been so successful for us that we went from whatever, the 10 pieces to about 12. We're doing one a month, and it's driving a lot of incremental sales, and we are very happy with it. Now, you know, it used to be that we would just try to pick a pretty face to be on the cover of the catalog, and then, you know, just concentrate on people that just look good for the product and so forth. And what we are learning is that the people that we use for casting can also become influencers in a way. So this time we picked 3 people that really had a significant following. You can see the numbers there. This is Martha Hunt. She was a Victoria's Secret angel and 2.8 million followers. And part of the deal here, you know, the campaign was Holiday of 18. And the vision for the campaign was just to do a road trip, you know, so there's this, you know, 3 sisters and the brother, and they are going, you know, from LA to Northern California, and they're stopping in different towns and so forth. And part of the deal with hiring this cast was that they had to post on Instagram some of those pictures. So now we have access to an additional, you know, audience that we didn't have before. So this is Devon Windsor, and, you know, again, 1.2 million followers. This is a model from South Africa, 400 and some thousand followers, Jessica Lee Buchanan. And these are some of the pictures from the campaign. You can see them here. And, you know, we're very happy with the direction we are taking here. I think a direct mail that, you know, everybody thought it was dead a few years back because of e-commerce, I think there is a big opportunity here to really call that attention now that the customers are kind of bombarded with a lot online. You have an opportunity to see a lot more in a direct mail piece. So key priorities, you know, just I don't think that there is much science on this, but, you know, understanding the customer, designing the experience, empowering the front line. We think that we have a big opportunity with having bricks and mortar and stores and a lot of people that really care about the brand, and they can communicate a much more authentic story about the brand. Using metrics that matter, focus the leadership on the customer, which has been, I think, seamless for us, but it's never easy, especially when you want to touch everybody in the organization. And I think you need to do that in order for the program to be effective. And channeling customer feedback. This is something that we haven't attacked yet. You know, it's very difficult to really collect all this feedback. We're thinking about creating some customer service kind of centers. Right now, our call center is being you know, serviced by a third party. We don't even know what they say, but, you know, and this is a big opportunity, you know, because, you know, when you think about it, I mean, when I was in restoration hardware, scary here now, but, you know, we were choosing where to put a call center based on labor rates. Just think about that, right? So then of course, the cheapest place was where we had the distribution centers. So imagine, here you are, this is the front line. This is what, the customer, and as you know, a restoration hardware customer is a luxury customer. They are expecting, incredible service and response and sophistication from that whole experience. And here we were just trying to minimize how much an hour we were paying the person that was gonna, just take that call. Imagine that, right? So I think that, and in a way, that's happening to us too. Call centers, they were like, oh yeah, just the last thing. And now we're saying, okay, customer centricity is key. So that experience, I mean, how valuable is that, if you do it well? So this is our chart. We have a lot of great initiatives here. I think that our challenge now is to really identify what are the ones that are really going to drive tremendous value here, and how do we really focus on those. And really, what we have done here is divided all those key initiatives that I just showed you in the previous chart, and then trying to anticipate what are the big things that we need to do in each of these areas. And loyalty, for example, is one big rock that impacts many of them. They are color-coded based on the status of development. And the Custora team here helped us develop that chart. So you are responsible. Okay. Another thing that we did was just to try to understand how the customer was responding to different things that we could do or that we were doing. And the great thing, we use a company called AMP. These people did something that they call a persona study. And they use a lot of the new technology to be able to do that, follow people inside stores and see how much time they were spending, where they were shopping, and so forth. And some of the things that we learned were quite eye-opening for us and very validating for many of the things that we were doing. So we saw that our customer was more interested in seeing emails, for example, and that would influence and inspire them to conduct purchases than magazines, or that they were very interested in seeing stores too and having that experience in store, and catalogs were important to them. So this is kind of like all kind of coming together, and we're very happy about that. And I think that this was one of the very the most effective things that we did to really validate how we were going after the customer to really engage them at a different level. So at the end of the day, this is how we envision our world. The customer life cycle journey. We see the customer at the center. We see we need to have the ability to shop and ship from anywhere and any time within our ecosystem. And that is a big thing. Fortunately, we have been able to partner with a couple of other companies that enabled us to be able to ship from any store, for example. So, things that you see online in our website, we can ship it from any store wherever we have that inventory. Obviously from the central places as well. But we see a world where we can start cross-marketing with the department stores. They have significant data, obviously, and now they are looking at this in a very effective way too. I just came from a 2-day meeting with Macy's. Macy's has this get-togethers with vendor partners, so of course we are one of their brands, and they are, the topics of the discussion were exactly everything that we're talking about here today. So they have a new management team there. They're looking at things in a very similar way than we are. So we are excited about that. Something that looked impossible, even a year ago, to share some customer data. Now they are opening their minds to that, with us. We are doing drop shipment, so we have that capability. So, if you look at a lucky item in their website, in Macy's, for example, we can ship from our location. So that type of thing just, partnering and collaborating is very important to us. And then, what we are doing in stores, we are planning to introduce a clienteling tool. The whole loyalty experience, I think, is going to continue to grow that engagement level for us. Everything that we're doing online, I think, is very similar to what you may be looking at, like personalization. Obviously, that's a big deal, and localization. So we are trying to show to that customer that is close to that particular store the inventory that is available in that particular store. And in addition to, it's another way of personalization, but it's more about the inventory that we own in that particular location. And catalogs, as I mentioned, I think that this continues to drive significant traffic, and we will continue to do that. So that's the way we look at life. So, is retail dead? No, but I think what's dead is traditional retail. That is what has died. And those companies that continue to operate in the way they did, I don't think that they have a chance. I think that, just putting this world upside down and putting the customer at the center is the only way to win. So, and when you look at this business today, just if you ask me, what do you need to have to be successful in this business if you have a business that is similar to ours, meaning retail, a brand, and so forth. And this is what I think. Product is still king. So, and I think that next is SKU productivity. I think, a lot of people are going crazy about expanding assortments because they think that that's a way to win. Oh, I have to have everything. But, then the tails of SKUs becomes really long, and you cannot make money with all those. If you produce any excess inventory in this world today, you're dead, I think. Because it used to be that we would turn around and sell it to TJX or any of those guys. Now those guys want, have an expectation to pay nothing for the products if there are excess. So creating excess is death. So I think you have to be careful with how do you architect your assortments. But the point that I want to make here is that product is still king. If you have all these very sophisticated tools and data analytics and everything else, and you have lousy product, guess what? You're not going to win. So I think that product will continue to be very, very significant. Second big thing for me is I think that having a brand purpose and relevance will continue to thrive. So I think that those brands that really mean something, that they stand for something, and make that very clear to the customer are the ones that are going to win. And the other ones that kind of like used to rely on the past, I think that are going to have a very tough time. And there are several examples of that. I think customer centricity and omni-channel capabilities are a must. I think that this just levels the playing field. The other companies, I don't think will make it. And I think that data analytics is definitely going to become the key to decision making. And I see three big areas that are going to be impacted or are being impacted by data analytics on decision making. One is customer, another one is product. How am I selling the product? Where do I put it? What is the price that I should put it at or I should sell it at? So product analytics is also going to be very key. And the third big thing is about supply chain. How do I minimize the risk of creating inventory that then will have a significant impact, negative impact on my profitability? And how do I make sure that I buy enough of that if that is what's going to sell extremely well and get significant margin? Stores are key for new customer acquisitions. People at the beginning, just all this pure plays or whatever. It's like, oh no, we don't need stores. We'll get everything here. I mean, we have the optimal model. But when you start thinking about the customer acquisition models, I mean, how much are you spending to get a new customer on your database? That's pretty tough. And guess what? That is marked to market. That cost is marked to market. That means that today you may spend 20, but tomorrow, because Facebook took rates up or whatever it is, it may cost you 30. And the day after tomorrow, who knows? So it's marked to market, where stores, at least you have a lease that you know what you're going to be paying. And I think that that is a big deal, actually. So stores, to me, play a role. I mean, obviously, that doesn't mean that you have to lose money in stores. You know, you have to figure out a way to have stores that are profitable, definitely. But I think that they are a key part of the customer experience. Speed in product development and testing, I think, will help mitigate the inventory risk that we're all facing and help offset margin dilution. I think that capital light models will win and are winning today. We love the idea of partnering with the best in each of those disciplines. So, and here's for us, Custora is a great example of that. You pick the best on that and then partner, because, you know, I mean, I don't need to go and hire whatever, how many data scientists do you have here? I don't know, zillions. But, you know, just, so we don't need to make that investment. Sorry. Just, and, you know, I think an international expansion will become more and more critical because, you know, the customer is really shopping throughout. So it's just, I think it's for a brand like ours to have and participate in an international market is key. So you're gonna see us there. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.